No, I was born in America.
Yeah.
I'm first generation. All my family was from Scotland, so I'm only first generation. But I have never felt that I am an American in the sense that I have to stay there.
Yeah.
I've always, all my life, have been outside the United States, because all the things that are really interesting are outside the United States.
You know what's interesting? I experienced the opposite of what we take for granted. When you're in America, you just seem to think that the world begins with the East Coast and ends with the West Coast.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There is no such thing as outside.
But what we experienced when we moved to Central America was that we were in such awe of the natural beauty that we wanted to explore Central America. And what I discovered after maybe a couple of years, we explored so much. The people that were my professional friends that were from there had never seen 75% of the things I had already seen just by being there.
Right. Yeah.
Well, the same thing is true for when you live in America. You get comfortable with, I think, 3 square miles. Most people live within 3 square miles over their neighborhood.
Yeah.
In their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, we get these Polish friends, and I mean they live in Plano, Texas, but they're like every summer they would go to the Grand Canyon, to Big Bend Park in South Texas. They would go to Arkansas, and they're camping all over the place, and they talk to their American friends, and they'd be like, "Oh wow, that just seems like a long way," and so blah blah. When you're at home, you basically do a 3-mile.
You live in a very small, yeah.
So it takes that foreign mentality. Even though you're American, the moment you get somewhere else, you discover. You go out and discover.
And you see other things.
Yeah, I guarantee
But
you that some of the
Americans
people
don't do that.
I guarantee you some of the people you met in Morocco didn't know as much about Morocco as you ended up knowing.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because you wanted to go out and touch all the corners.
But I brought things to it.
Sure.
Yeah. You and I have lived in X number of countries all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many people have done that?
Yeah, not many.
And, but the richness of your and my life is exponentially because of that.
Yeah, it's the diversity.
Diversity, it doesn't make you any different. It just makes you more interesting. I love going to see new places.
You know what's amazing?
And you do too. You like to see new
I remember
things,
I drew a line.
New stuff, new people.
While we were there, one of the things that freed me up quite a bit is not having the baggage of family. We become, in the U.S., we become Hallmark family, or we have that Hallmark guilt of what we should be doing during the holidays. Well, when we were in Central America, we were 4 hours off that umbilical cord. We didn't have to deal with it anymore. Okay?
Yeah.
So we were like,
exactly.
well, shit, Christmas is coming up. What the hell are we going to do? We don't know anybody. So we're like, oh, somebody invited us over to dinner? Great. We go over to dinner. But the next day, we were like, okay, what's up next?
Down the road.
Well, I would draw a beeline. I'd take a map, Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, and I go, okay, we're going to go here first. I do a little bit of research on the internet. Belize has great websites about all their highlights and places to go. So I time, and then we go here and here. Listen, we'd be in a suburban packed full of shit, driving through the middle of the jungle, boom, 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 boom. And we'd stop in places where a lot of people like us who travel the world would set up a little shop.
Yep.
Like a little,
and
stop
we
and
all
sleep
sit down
place.
And go, hey.
And when you're there, I'm telling you, in the middle of frickin' nowhere.
Nowhere. Absolutely fucking
At
nowhere.
dinner time, you'd get a bunch of people from all over the world sitting down together
and
just
dinner.
talking the same nonsense that we're talking about, saying, Discovery,
And there'd
discovery,
be 3,
discovery.
2, 1, 8, 9, 10 languages.
You got it.
And
You got
you'd
it.
all say, okay.
Yep.
But tonight, we're all going to have dinner.
Absolutely. And it
And
was freaking awesome.
It was, and is awesome.
Yeah. We did that over and over and over
One
again.
of the most charming, or whatever you want to call it, to sit down with 10 different people
Yeah.
of different languages and build whatever and have dinner. You cannot ever put that back into a jar.
Sure. No,
It is
no,
just
you can't.
a unique thing that happens.
There's no formula for that. It's almost like...
And you go, how can you describe that? You can't. You just sit down and you have dinner.
I'll give
with
you an interesting...
10 different people.
Interesting analogy. I really believe that there is a light that draws people like us who want to discover, constantly discover. And I believe that those lights find themselves in the rarest of places. In the rarest of places, you'll sit down around a table with a bunch of people who are drawn to that light. You know? And it's truly amazing because everybody's there. Like, I would sit there and I would be next to 3 graduate students, next to a tattoo artist by herself, next to an Italian doctor with his 3 kids, his wife and his mother, and you know, like the oddest group of people. But they have one fine singular thread running through them all.
One thread
which was the willingness to expose themselves to discovering at all
what's going on.
At all costs. And ready? There we are, Christmas Eve, up atop of a mountain, on a cliff, overlooking some river, having some chicken potluck dinner, and couldn't be happier. Could not be happier.
We were in 1967 in Casablanca. And that was the year that the Russians allowed some people to leave Russia, which was unique. And they had left the Bosphorus. And they were allowed to go to a couple different, and one of the places they were allowed to go to was Casablanca. And my then wife and I were sitting in a restaurant, and next to us were a Russian couple. And obviously they spoke nothing except Russian. And I spoke a little bit of French. Not good, but a little bit. And a guy came by and said, you know, I'm an interpreter, and I said, okay, can you speak to these people? And they said, well, I don't speak very good Russian, but I speak French and Polish. And the guy who was a doctor, we found out later, he was a doctor, said, well, I speak a little Polish. So we had 5 languages going, trying to, and then finally, these people came over to our table, and we hired this guy to say, okay, you do this. And we spoke probably 2 hours.
No shit.
And 5 languages are going. And finally the guy was going.
Say hello.
I mean, they were such gorgeous people. They really were.
No, I'm
His
very, very
wife was
picky.
from Georgia.
Very
He
picky.
was from
I expected to be deleted.
North
Say
Tits
hello.
are not up.
Say hi.
But
Show me your tits.
I
Hello.
remember it like it was
Bienvenuto.
30 years ago.
Oh.
And Raphael, it was one of the most,
Sure.
because he had never ever met an American, and I'd never met a pure Russian.
Wow.
And we were just doing shit. And his wife was talking to my wife, and then we were talking everything, and it was like, I mean,
Wow.
do it. I mean, we couldn't get enough information. And this guy that we had hired said, you know, Jesus, give me a break. You know, wow. And I mean, they were just, and
I'm just videotaping these
when we
people
left
now.
that afternoon,
Toss.
I mean, it was like,
I'll feed this
Jesus,
back to you.
you guys
I'll
aren't
send it to
any
you.
different than we are.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not any fucking, all of the garbage that we have to deal with, all the garbage we have to, we brought it. You guys are
You almost get a
neat
sense
people.
that you're getting played.
And this guy was a doctor, and his wife was a something or other. She wasn't a doctor, but and we went, oh my God, what?
We're
great
out. We're
people.
smoking yours.
And his
Oh,
name
wait,
was
I'll bring.
Yeah.
I'll grab you
something.
Yeah.
But
I'll grab you a
it
cart
was,
before I leave.
for 2 solid
You like
hours, it was like, holy fucking
Forgot
crap.
the ashtray.
I mean, it was just one of the most interesting experiences I've ever had in my whole life.
You know what's?
This is Casablanca, right?
I'll tell you what's really wild. We grew up in Chile.
You need to take the family to Morocco.
Huh?
You need to go to Morocco.
So we grew up in Chile.
So we grew up in Chile.
Okay,
You
ready?
know what this is?
Tango.
Mangoes, yay!
One mango, one of these.
Say hi to the camera.
Well,
Say goodnight.
good night. You know what's interesting? What's that? Whenever